Well, good morning, and you're going to have to excuse my voice on the way through here. I'm the healthiest in the family at the moment, so we've got some young kids, and we're passing this dose of. I'm sure it's not swine flu just yet, but I did have that feed of roast pork at the weekend, so there may be some connection. Well, it was great to hear from Steve and hear some of the particularly poignant comments when you take them from somebody who's been in the market for as long as Steve has and has as much knowledge as Steve does, and particularly relevant in the space. So it's good to get that encouragement in that regard. We're probably a little bit more cautious as a corporate than some of Steve's comments, but it is great to hear those and to sort of hear the optimism that's starting to come through. Most of you know us as the toll road operator in Australia here. We've got 5 roads here in Sydney, or interest in 5 roads here in Sydney, and the CityLink concession in Melbourne. And we've also got a couple of roads underway, one in operation, another one under construction in the US. 5 million customers. One of our concessions actually extends out to 2,105, so we do tend to take a long-term view. There's been a lot of talk recently about extracting value, and what I want to focus on this morning is actually probably picks up a little bit on Minister Albanese's comments, but actually trying to work ways about enhancing value as well. So in the past year, we've seen many investors and people in government and the community question the value our industry delivers. The headlines sort of say it all. You know, we can talk about all the negative press. Steve had a similar slide, which is interesting, but the economic crisis, coupled with the problems being faced by many Australian infrastructure PPPs, has many people writing off the traditional toll road projects as dead in the water. Some are saying that you can't bear traffic risk, that's untenable, that we won't see another privately funded toll road. That's just not the case. There's no doubt that some investors have been burnt, and some governments have swallowed a lot of political risk recently. And the flood of money that was there once is no longer there. But through hubris or maybe bad design, we've let this happen, and we're all wearing the consequences. Some are claiming that government should revert to fully funding infrastructure itself, or that the availability payment model is the only way new projects will get up. Further, some claim that you just can't finance projects any longer. But let's not be shy here. The real question being asked around the room is, can we realistically expect that there's life in the PPP model in which the private sector accepts most of the risk? And we actually believe there's plenty of room left to go in this model. But they've got to be responsible, considered projects based on a real partnership between the private sector and government. And I strongly support the model in which the private sector takes the risk, including the traffic risk in our case, because it still delivers the greatest value to the community and to the government. The days of aggressive traffic models and highly leveraged and financially engineered toll roads, I think, are definitely over, and probably should be. But the scale of the nation's infrastructure needs and the benefit that's delivered by the PPP model that gave birth to projects like CityLink and Westlink M7 presents a very strong case for support of private participation in the future. What we need is a model that's fair income and sets its sights on a long-term value a partnership between the government and the private sector can deliver. We have to find a different path. So the real question we need to ask is what delivers the best long-term value? We can't lose sight of this question in the fog of write-downs and disappointing traffic numbers and some asset sales. When we answer this clearly and concisely, we'll all be on a path to restoring confidence with investors, government and the community. I'll talk more about this idea later, but first I think we need to step back and ask ourselves what value we really deliver. We all know that infrastructure can be a powerhouse in the economy. There's enough being said about this already today. I'm not going to dwell on it, but governments everywhere are trying to boost economic activity by infrastructure investment, and that's got to be a good thing. We'll come out of this in a whole lot better shape. Strong recognition of the economic value of infrastructure investment. The Infrastructure Australia's priority setting process has provided a much-needed opportunity for all stakeholders to play a role in identifying those projects that will make the biggest contribution to our future economic well-being. With more than $20 billion to be invested by the federal government, initially by the Building Australia Fund, and significantly more to come from the private sector, it's going to be a big step forward for this country, and it should see us emerge for the next few years in pretty good shape. The projects prioritised by the IA process largely didn't address the urban road congestion, however. And while I understand there's a lot of reasons for this, I'd urge government at all levels not to ignore the cost to the community of urban road congestion. And from my point of view, it's pleasing to hear Minister Albanese's acknowledgement of this issue this morning. Ultimately, when we talk at Transurban about delivering infrastructure projects, our objective is the delivery and operation of that creates long-term value over the life of the asset and delivering that value to our shareholders and the communities. It's not just about getting the deal done or the structure built. Projects like CityLink and M7 in Western Sydney are evidence of the traffic risk-bearing toll road projects can and do create significant value. CityLink provides a crucial connection between Melbourne's suburbs, the CBD, the port and the airport. In 2009, 241 million transactions. Benefits are clear: travel time savings, greater travel time certainty and significant fuel savings, estimated by the Victorian Transport Association at about 25 million litres of fuel a year using the CityLink road. This had minimal financial contribution from the state, and with delivery and operation of the road structured to transfer maximum risk to the private sector. In fact, the state's funded a significant portion of the current upgrade projects from concession payments built into the CityLink agreements. And it goes without saying that our investors have enjoyed their investment in this project as well. Westlink M7 is another very positive example of this model working. It's been a catalyst for enormous economic growth in Western Sydney. In addition to boosting the local economy, the M7 has delivered significant efficiencies in the national freight network and helped trigger massive development and job creation. During construction alone, the road generated 1,500 new jobs, and it continues to create employment opportunities in the region. An Ernst & Young report, admittedly commissioned by us and released in July of last year, puts the total economic contribution of Sydney's toll road network at $22.7 billion in NPV terms. While these types of projects have undoubtedly been a success, we're going to need to invest in new models in the future. When it comes to road transport, we can't continue to build our way out of traffic congestion. And given the challenges posed by climate change, just building more roads and allowing our cities to continue to sprawl just won't cut it. It's not an option for the long term. We've got to make more of what we've actually got already. And in future, the true value will be created by managing demand. We need to look at innovative ideas like managed lanes, the introduction of pricing signals to manage the flow of traffic on our road networks. A recent Federal Treasury paper correctly points out that motorists do in fact pay in wasted time to drive on free roads at peak periods, and that this disrupts the flow of people and goods in the community, harming productivity and growth. It also causes headaches for politicians who feel the incessant calls for action to fix the problems. The Australian Automobile Association has also suggested that government look more closely at user pay models. In October last year, they made a submission to the Henry Review in which they recommended that fuel excess be abolished and replaced with a road user charge to pay for land transport infrastructure. Same's happening in the US. The debate there is about a vehicle miles travelled charging system to fund highways rather than relying on the current system of primary fuel taxes. The political realities of that debate make it a tough conversation with the community, but as an industry we just can't afford to stick our heads in the sand. One model for the